just show him, she thought, though it didn't occur to her until afterwards that she wasn't obliged to show him anything. She wondered if it was pride that made her want to elevate her image from jilted bride to that of budding entrepreneur, even though it wasn't exactly true. "Indeed it is. It's been a very popular destination," she said. "Historic houses like this have a wide appeal to the general public, and people can't get enough of them. Speaking of which..." Pointedly, she looked at her watch. "Your half hour is almost up."
"But it must be hard work,"
he persisted. She met the mocking question in his black eyes. "Of course it is. Cooking up to 8 different breakfasts to order and making up beds with clean linen most days is not for the faint-hearted, but I've never been afraid of hard work. You don't get anything for nothing in this life." She paused, her smile growing tight. "Although I suppose someone like you might be the exception to the rule." Not showing any sign of moving, he surveyed her steadily.
"And why might that be?"
"Well, you're a sheikh, aren't you?" she said. "You're one of the richest men in the world. You own a string of prize-winning racehorses and a palace. For all I know, you might own hundreds of palaces. You have your own plane, I imagine. And you've probably never had to lift a finger to acquire the kind of wealth you take for granted. You've probably had everything handed to you on a plate." There was a silence as Saladin felt a flicker of exasperation. It was an accusation levelled at most people born to royal status, but never usually voiced in his presence because usually people didn't dare. Yes, he was unimaginably rich, but did she think that he had grown up in a bubble, that he'd never had to fight for his country and his people, that he'd never known heartbreak or stared into the dark abyss of real loss? Once again, Alia's beautiful and perfect face swam into his memory, but he pushed it aside as he met the Englishwoman's quizzical gaze.
"Materially, I do not deny that I have plenty," he said. "But what about you? You're not exactly on the breadline, are you, Livy? This place is hardly your average house. You, too, have known privilege."
Livy wished he would move away from her, because his presence was making her feel distinctly uncomfortable, as if her plaid shirt had suddenly become too small and her breasts were straining against the tightening buttons, as if those watchful eyes could somehow see through her clothes to the plain and functional underwear that lay beneath. "It's a rare Georgian house," she agreed, her fingers playing with the top button of her shirt. "And I'm lucky to live here. It's been in my family for many years."
"But the maintenance costs must be high,"
he mused. "Astronomical," she agreed, "which is why I open the house to paying guests." He was glancing up at the ceiling now. Had he noticed the ugly damp stain then, or did the firelight successfully hide it? His gaze was lowered and redirected to her face, where once again it seemed to burn its way over her skin.
"So how's business, Livy, generally?"
Her smile was bland. "Business is good."
"Your guests don't mind the fact that the paint is peeling, or that the plaster is crumbling on that far wall?"
"I doubt it. People come looking for history, not pristine paintwork. You can find that almost anywhere in some of the cheaper hotel chains."
"You know, I could offer you a lot of money,"
he observed after a moment or two.
"Enough to pay for the kind of work this place is crying out for. I could throw in a little extra if you like, so that you could afford the holiday you look as if you need."
Livy stiffened. Was he implying that she looked washed out? Almost without her thinking, her fingers crept up to her hairline to brush away a stray strand that must have escaped from her ponytail. It was true she hadn't had a holiday in ages, and it was also true that her debts continued to grow, no matter how many new bookings she took. Sometimes she felt like Canute, trying to turn back the tide, and now she couldn't remember how Canute had actually coped. Had he just admitted defeat and given up? She wished Saladin would stop looking at her like that.